Hi Sparkles, it's Jordan. Welcome back to my channel. You guys have been asking me for months to look at Maddie and Chloe's solos. You can and be anything and tell you guys what I think. So today I'm going to be checking out both solos and giving you guys a full kind of adjudication of both of them and letting you know what I think and giving both Maddie and Chloe some technical corrections and some positive feedback, of course. And I guess if you like that, if you're interested in that, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. But before we hop into it, if you're not yet following me on Instagram and Twitter, you can check them both out at Jordan J. Sparks. And if you want to shop my merch, I will leave the link to that in the description below. We've got t-shirts, we've got sweaters, we've got long sleeve shirts, we've got mugs, we've got socks, we've got like dance leggings, we've got all sorts of cute Stay Sparkly merch. So like I said, I will leave the link down there in the description and you can check that out. But all that being said, let's hop into the video. So we're going to be starting with Maddie's solo, which was called Be Anything. Ja, smells that.
It takes a moment to break a butterfly on the wheel. That's when you hear an angel cry. It takes a heartbeat to bring someone back to life, and then you feel that it's all been worthwhile. Voices inside me keep.
I'm just gonna pause right here. Right up to this point, we're 30 seconds into the solo, basically. Maddie is performing absolutely beautifully. She's moving through her entire limbs, basically, and reaching to the end of the room through her arms. She's really pointing through her feet and through her ankles. She's using her turnout, she's using her contractions, and she's really performing beautifully and organically to the music. So everything to me is literally perfect at this point, so let's keep going. That was a smooth, nice sail. Could have a nice higher releve in those turns. Kind of fell out of that turn. Nice arabesque. That lead could have been a lot higher for Maddie. That's all very nice. That turn was like, I don't know why actually Abby puts these attitude turns in their solos when they can't do them. I find this a lot in the ALDC solos. Their leg is not at all in attitude. It's just kind of in this like low, not aesthetically pleasing attitude, and they just kind of force their way through it, and it's not a very nice attitude turn. So I personally just wouldn't have put that turn in her dance because I don't think that she can do it nicely, and I think it just takes away from the fact that she can do everything else in this dance perfectly. So I wouldn't have put that in this dance personally, but that's just me. The turn just didn't look nice because she's not ready for it. That was beautiful. Her musicality is precious. Her ankle and foot could have been poured in that reverse jeté. And then she bobbled that turn. Okay, so overall I would say that her musicality is beautiful. The way that she works through all of her contractions and uses her entire body to dance, like she really works all of her lines and she dances to the end of the room, and I would say that that is beautiful, and that's what makes her look like a professional even when she was like 9 years old, is her performance ability and the way that she uses her entire body and all of her lines. I would say that for the most part, her technique was really clean in this. She could have stretched her ankles and pointed her feet a bit more, and like I said, her releve is kind of lazy at times, but overall her musicality is absolutely fantastic, and we saw that she bobbled a couple of turns. Is this because she can't turn? No, I would just say it's because she's having a bobbly day. One thing that I can say is that at this age, Maddie doesn't properly engage her scapula, and her shoulder posturing is a little bit lazy. But aside from that, everything else in here was perfect and clean, and overall I would literally score this solo in the high 90s. And now we'll be heading into Chloe's solo, which is called You Can.
Coming up now is entry number 19, and here's Chloe with You Can.
It takes a moment to break a butterfly on a wheel. That's when you hear an angel cry. It takes
that musicality is perfect.
To bring someone back to life, and then you feel that it's all been worthwhile. Voices.
Okay, so I'm just going to pause here. So far, I would say that her musicality is great and that she's performing. I think that when Chloe dances, she gives off this kind of energy that makes you go, "Aw, it's so cute." And she's like dancing from her heart, so that's super cute. Overall, I would say that Maddie uses her arms more and she uses her contractions a little bit more than Chloe. Chloe just appears a little bit more stiff and she has a little less épaulement, like her shoulders. She doesn't really move her shoulders and completely finish her lines with her arms. She kind of tenses her hand into a fist and stuff at some points, but overall I would say the musicality and her performance and everything is beautiful so far. The one thing is Maddie did hold her pitch for a little bit higher, and Chloe kind of just extended her leg there and then moved on. So if she could really hold some things for like a little half a second longer and then move on, it would be a lot more graceful and it would really fill up the music. So let's hop back in. It's nice. I've got to say though, for that sail, I'm pretty sure that Maddie did like a full arabesque sail and then Chloe just did like a floor level. And so for looking at that from a judging perspective, you'd go, oh, that's a more technical move since I'm judging two solos that are exactly the same. So I think that's a little bit sneaky on Abby's part because I think that Chloe can do an arabesque sail. Okay, let's hop back.
And someone who loved me, I still.
Also, for the side switch leap, I would just say that that's Maddie's signature leap and that it looks a little bit better when Maddie does it. When Maddie does it, I would say that she entirely squares off her hips, and a lot of the dancers on Abby's team kind of entirely face the audience when they do that leap. If you're entirely squaring off your hips, it's going to allow you to have a lot more of an attack when you hit that leap in the air. But also Maddie has a more flexibility and an oversplit, and she has more flexibility in her upper body. So when she bends her back a little bit, that leap overall just looks a little bit better than Chloe's does. Now that turn is absolutely beautiful. She floated out of that and it was perfectly graceful, but I'm just going to go back a tiny little bit and pay attention to her releve in that turn, because this is something that judges are going to be watching for when you are adjudicating a dance. So if you watched her releve on that foot, the turn was beautiful and graceful, and she did kind of lower her heel and then push up to the top of her releve at the end of the turn, which is great because when you're going into that flourish at the end of the turn, if you lower your heel just a tiny bit as you're going into the last rotation and then you really push up at the end of the rotation, it's going to make that turn look more graceful. But the main point here is that Chloe's releve was like this far off the ground. It was such a beautiful turn, but work the releve and that turn would have been literally perfect. Okay, let's hop back into this.
I can't stand to wait, but I can't bear to go. The door is open and it won't be there for long. I know the truth of who I am and who I want to be and what is possible is standing right in front of me. 'Cause you can be anything you dreamed of.
So this is all beautiful. She's dancing this gracefully and nice. The one thing that I would have to say is that Chloe has a tendency to kind of like hide her neck in her shoulders, so if she just wants to come out of that turtle shell and just really extend her neck, and the best way to do this is to think of your diamonds and just really push out on the top of your chest and your collarbones, and that will present your shoulder posturing in a great way that makes your neck appear long and your chin nice and lifted. See, that back attitude turn was a lot nicer when Chloe did it. I wouldn't put that turn into their choreography until they have enough back strength to really hold that attitude nice and high throughout the turn, because that's what's going to make a back attitude turn look nice.
Chloe danced beautifully. And if I were Melissa and Maddie, I'd be worried.
So overall, I think that Chloe danced absolutely beautifully. If you look at that last turn, it was perfect. It was nice and exquisite compared to Maddie's ending turn. I'm not making this video to compare the girls and be like, this dancer's better than this girl, but when they're doing the exact same choreography, it's just easy to take the two dancers and contrast them and go, okay, this is what one dancer can learn from another dancer. So I would say that Maddie had an off day when it comes to turning, and Chloe had a pretty good day when it comes to turning, but she played it safe with her turns, and well, by that I mean she kept her releve really low to the ground, and if she really would have pushed up and worked through her releve, then she wouldn't have played it safe, because there's a chance she could have fallen out of her turns, but there's also a chance that her turns could have been amazing. That being said, I do think that because Maddie has more flexibility, she's able to really work through her contractions, and that comes off more gracefully than Chloe. Chloe has a little bit more of a stiffer upper body because she doesn't have that kind of flexibility, and so therefore she doesn't really work through her contractions completely the same way that Maddie does. In terms of hands, I would say that Maddie has more graceful hands, and she works her lines right through to the ends of her fingertips, and Chloe tends to tense up her hands sometimes, or sometimes she'll like make a fist. I would say performance-wise that Chloe performed that straight from the heart, and Maddie just kind of seemed like she was a little bit rushing at times. I feel like musicality, they were both great. Two sneaky little things that I would like to point out is, for that sail turn, Maddie had an arabesque sail turn and Chloe had a little sail turn. So to a judge, an arabesque sail turn is going to look like a lot more difficult skill than a cute little sail turn. And I know that Chloe can do an arabesque sail turn even at this age, so why those weren't equal, I don't know. And also, if you paid attention, watched really closely, Maddie had a front aerial in this choreography, and Chloe had a side aerial. If we're going to put these solos up against each other and compare apples to apples, they need to literally be exactly the same. And I don't know if that's because Chloe couldn't do a front aerial at the time that they did these solos, but as a judge, when you're watching the two solos and you see the one girl do a front aerial and the other girl's just doing a side aerial, a front aerial is a more advanced skill, so obviously you're going to be judging Maddie higher, and you're not really getting a fair comparison. She did this as well when Kendall and Maddie danced the two solos. Maddie had a front aerial, and I believe Kendall had a side jeté. And I'm like, you can't compare a side jeté to a front aerial. Like, that's comparing apples to oranges. So that being said, I think it was a little bit sneaky anytime on Dance Moms that you were seeing them compete with the exact same solo, because if you watched really close, they weren't the exact same solo. They were just similar. Now, if we take out the front aerial and that sail turn and make this a totally even playing field, I would give them the exact same score. I would score them both high 90s. And I know that some people are going to think, well, that's a cop-out. You have to pick one girl is better than the other. They weren't. They were literally, from a judging perspective, exactly the same. And I don't know what went on behind the scenes on that TV show. I don't know if Abby actually went and had somebody's score changed, whether that was like giving Maddie a foot up, or whether they actually misscored Chloe and gave her, like, I don't know, 9 points in a category of 5 points or whatever that happened. I don't really care. I don't know what went on there. I'm saying from a judging perspective, if I was on that panel adjudicating and I didn't know either of those dancers and that was the performance that they gave, and we're taking out the front aerial and the sail turn, I would say that they compared equal. I would say that their technique was on par. If Maddie didn't fall out of her turns, Maddie would have won. In my opinion, I would have scored her higher. But as an adjudicator, you don't know Maddie, you're judging her by that performance. So, because she fell out of those turns, and because Chloe didn't fall out of her turns, but both of them had great technique aspects, and both of them had little flaws to their technique, I would rate their technique equally. And performance-wise and musicality-wise, I would rate them totally equal for that performance. So, that's just me. I would say that they were totally equal. Can they both learn from each other? Yes. Did they both dance exquisitely? Yes. Did they both have flaws? Yes. Neither of them are perfect. But that being said, that was my opinion of You Can and Be Anything. Let me know your guys' opinion of the dancers and how they danced this solo in the comments below. But try and keep it nice, please. Keep it friendly, keep it PG. There's no need to hate or bully or be mean. And I guess that is it for this video. So if you have any other recommendations for videos that you would like me to react to, let me know in the comments below. But as always, make sure to be weird, be wild, and stay sparkly. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye!